Payne. I'd like to now yield to Mr. Royce. First time as a make a Zoom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I really want to thank all of our witnesses who have been so engaged on human rights for being here today, and especially our former colleague, Joseph Cow. It's good to have you with us on an issue which I think really touches all of us. Earlier this month, the chairman and myself, along with Chairwoman Ross-Lehtinen, who is and also the ranking member, Howard Berman, we sent a letter to the State Department, and in that letter we detailed the ongoing human rights abuses in Vietnam and how little things have changed. And this hearing, we intend, and I appreciate the chairman holding this hearing, we intend this to put that needed spotlight on a situation that is very dire, especially for activists and many young people in Vietnam. And I hope the administration is listening to this hearing. I think one of the cases brought to our attention speaks to all of us. The case of Việt Khang, who was a songwriter in Vietnam. And he sits in a Vietnamese jail for simply writing songs and posting songs on the internet. One song he wrote was entitled, "Who Are You?" questioning the conscience of those police who brutally assaulted and arrested demonstrators who were peacefully protesting. And he, like so many political prisoners in Vietnam, should be free today. Recently, I think we've seen a change in pattern. Instead of the show trials that we're used to, they're just skipping the show trials, the government of Vietnam, and they're sending dissidents straight to administrative detention. Just the other day, the Wall Street Journal editorialized against this new practice in Vietnam. But as one witness notes, here is how the editorial looked to readers in Saigon. Here's the Wall Street Journal. They obviously went through a lot of magic markers in order to individually censure the Asia edition of the Wall Street Journal that was distributed in Saigon. So you've got many brave Vietnamese men and women who are standing up for their rights, for the right to free speech, for the right to some measure of freedom, and they deserve our support. And what we're talking about today is not some isolated cases. We're talking about the norm in that society today. And we'll hear today that the situation, especially for young bloggers, young writers, young songwriters, for the youth, it's deteriorating in terms of the measure of freedom in Vietnam. I have legislation that calls for Vietnam to be placed back on the CPC list with respect to religious freedom. I also have legislation that Joseph Gao and I worked on that would identify and sanction those individuals in the Vietnamese government committing those human rights abuses. It is the least we should do. We must do at least this. And we should move these bills, and I thank the chairman for holding this hearing.
Thank you very much.